Well, some breaking news coming in. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has arrived at the 2025 G7 summit. The Secretary General was greeted by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, is what we are learning at this point in time. Let me also rope in Mr. Raymond Vickrey, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce. He's joining us all the way from Washington, D.C. Mr. Vickrey, sir, appreciate you joining us. I hope you can hear me.
Hear you fine. I hope you can hear me.
Absolutely fine. So great to see you. Well, it's already, for the lack of a better word, the G7 is turning out to be a kind of a dampener, a wet blanket, because Donald Trump has shown not too much of seriousness when it comes to the grouping. Do you think his departure or his stay at the G7 would have made a difference? We have spoken about Donald Trump and his temperamental behavior in the past as well. What does this signify? That this grouping is not serious enough for Donald Trump to be taken seriously? And also, let's put a caveat of a comment in there that he wanted Russia also to be a part of G7, and the other countries are in fact of the opposite opinion. This is showing a big crack in this grouping.
Well, thanks very much for having me. I think that Donald Trump is not interested in cooperation at a multinational level. He said time and time again, it's America first, and he could add to that first, last, and only. So he's not in favor of G7, he's not in favor of G20, he's not in favor of the United Nations, World Health Organization. The list goes on and on. His approach is one of a real estate mogul who wants to make a deal. So he came to the G7 not in the spirit of cooperation among democracies who have a certain level of economic achievement, but in order to try to make a deal which would enhance his position. He did a couple of those, at least tentatively, the UK one, and saying within 30 days that he would do something with Canada. So he got what he could, and it was apparent that he wasn't going to get the kind of deal that would reflect well on him. And so he left, and that's a shame, but it's not really a reflection on the G7, which really is the G6 plus one. But it's sort of like when you have a family gathering and you have one person who has anger issues, maybe some capacity for narcissism, that you try to walk around him and not have him blow up. And so we didn't have any discussion of major issues, climate change, equality for women, what you're going to do internationally on health, and a whole host of issues. It is apparent that this business of he was going back to do something that would be dramatic in regard to Iran, Israel is just not true. It makes for great television, in his view, for the great man to be able to get further emphasis on his role by walking out. Nevertheless, that having been said, it seems to me that there is some value left, particularly for great democracies like India and the United States, but without the United States, for India to be able to talk with Canada and the EU, where it has obvious interests that need to be attended to. So the leaving of Donald Trump from this is all a part of a pattern which we have seen. I do think that G20 is the right forum that has Russia in it. It has China in it. It is not a grouping of democracies. I do think that rather than admit Russia to the G7, you ought to admit India to the G7, and it ought to be the 8th. Because India has values which are democratic in nature, and that was the whole purpose of G7. It looked like Russia at one time was moving toward democracy and away from authoritarianism. that it was going to observe international rules. But its invasion of the Donbass and then annexation of Crimea showed that it was not prepared to deal with other democracies on the values that India, the U.S., and other democracies hold dear. So I think, yeah, there ought to be a G8, but it ought to be India, not Russia, in that eighth position.
Mm.